Hi. So the other week I did a blog about underrated Disney films and the live action animation ones that don't really get enough love. And then after that I did a blog about musicals that I don't particularly like. And I got to thinking about a combination of those two things. So what about musicals that I really do like that are seriously underrated? Because the amount of times when I say to people, "Oh, I really love musicals," or they ask me about musicals, they're like, "Oh yeah, like Singing in the Rain," or "Mamma Mia," or Les Mis, and they generally mean the film, which just really gets my goat because that's a terrible film but a brilliant musical. Yeah, I won't start that rant again because we'll lose like 50 minutes of our lives if I start on that one. But I really like some musicals that when I say I really like them, people look at me and go, "Oh, okay, right." Like they have no idea which ones I'm talking about. And I always feel a bit weird about that. Like people think that I'm trying to be real snooty and highbrow and say, "Oh, I heard of this, you wouldn't have heard of it." It's just genuinely that I really love some musicals that don't get enough appreciation. And I really like some of the really old musicals and some of the musicals from that weird time, sort of between the 50s heyday and the rejuvenation of them. I really like some of those, which are quite kind of out of the way because people go for biggies. So I thought I had to take a minute to rattle through some musicals that are underrated that I really, really do like and probably give you some recommendations for things. And for the purposes of this, I am by and large meaning film versions because I find it hard to differentiate between which stage musicals are underloved and not underloved because I just go see them and in that moment when I'm in the theatre there's a huge audience in and I just think, well, everybody must love this then. So I don't really understand stage wise which are biggies or not, other than obviously Phantom and Les Mis. Like I don't know about the rest. Would Legally Blonde be classed as an out of the way one? I don't know. I'm really not sure. But who knows. So, film wise. So I'm gonna start with an oldie. And it's a DVD that I've literally just robbed off my grandpa. Sorry. But it's a film that I absolutely love. And it's a film called Second Fiddle. It's in black and white. It's got Tyrone Power in it, who they don't reckon like they used to do. So it's Tyrone Power, and he is a man that works in Hollywood, and he is trying to cast, or he's bringing people in to cast for this film role that they have adapted from a book. And it's very interesting because they're going through all these girls to try and cast this perfect girl of the North from the book Girl of the North. But it was made kind of around the same time as they were searching for Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. So it's very much of its time. It's very much this is genuinely happening in Hollywood today and we're showing it off kind of thing. They get all the hype and the media around it absolutely bang on. It's really very interesting. But anyway, this is his job. He's trying to drum up publicity, bring the girls down for screen tests and then take them back if they're not good enough and whatever. And he sees this girl that has been entered into the mix by some friends. She lives in Minnesota and she is played by Sonia Heaney. Sonia Heaney is basically the ice skating equivalent of Esther Williams, if you like. She was an Olympic figure skater. She won medals. She did all that good stuff, and then she retired. And obviously when you retire from sport you're still quite young, so she needed a second income and she wanted to go into acting, and this is such a vehicle for her. There is a very gratuitous ice skating number which I'm kind of down with because at least it's the song and dance number rather than when they just have Esther Williams randomly swimming in a pool for no good reason. So I can live with that, I can deal with it, and actually it's really good. But yeah, she is this school teacher that's been entered into the mix, and she doesn't believe that she's gonna get cast as Scarlett O'Hara. I was gonna say then, Violet Jensen in Girl of the North. But she goes down to Hollywood anyhow with her aunt Phoebe into who is fantastic. Right, she's played by Edna May Oliver, who I can't imagine she was as old as she looked at the time. I think she's just got one of those faces because she's actually really energetic and really cool, and she just thinks Hollywood's a load of bunk, basically, and she's very vocal in laughing at things and just going, this is crazy that this is going on. And Tyrone Power is tasked with drumming up a fake romance for this school teacher with a player that they've got on the books at the studios, who was played by Rudy Valley, who was a massive star. He was a teen idol before there was such a thing as teenagers, if that makes sense. He was huge in like the 20s and 30s, so he's kind of knocking on a little bit now because he's like 39. So he's kind of, if you imagine Zac Efron in High School Musical, he was kind of at the point that Zac Efron is now, where he's a bit beyond the teen star, but he's still enough of a draw that you'd go, holy crap, it's him. So he drums up this fake romance between the two, but he's the one writing love notes and writing songs for her and doing all this stuff, and he falls in love with her. But he's saying all this through songs and letters and gifts and flowers that he's sending as if Rudy Valley's sending them. And Aunt Phoebe ain't fooled for a minute. Aunt Phoebe knows the score. She can see that he's mad about her, and she's just like, She's brilliant, honestly. She's my favourite thing in the world. And he basically creates this false romance. She finds out that it's all a sham because she falls in love with Rudy Valley, and then Rudy Valley's girlfriend's like, he's mine, what's wrong with you? You do know this is all fake, right? And she runs off back to Minnesota. He goes after her, declares a love for her, they all get together, happy ending, lovely job. So yeah, it's really good. And the song's about Irving Berlin, who is like songwriting royalty, basically. It's brilliant. It's very witty, and it's very interesting that the power very much lies with the women in these films. You know, Aunt Phoebe is the powerhouse. She's got all the best lines. She does all the cool stuff. She rocks around in trousers, like, you know, casting aspersions on people. And Tyrone Power is a bit wet, to be honest. He's a bit soppy, but he's really funny. And I think people think Tyrone Power is just a swashbuckler and romantic hero and all suave and stuff, but he plays a good comedy role. Fair play to the chap. But yeah, watch that. It's really, really good. I wasn't intending to do this chronologically, but I guess moving forward in time, State Fair is really good. It's very much of the like late 40s, early 50s Rodgers and Hammerstein kind of school of musicals, in that the girls all have pristine hair and pretty dresses and sing very, you know, clearly and musicality type singing, if that makes sense. That's not a phrase, but you know what I mean. Imagine Shirley Jones. I can't for the life of me remember what she's called, but she's very much of that kind of very clear vocal. And yeah, she goes off to a state fair. Mum's entering like a chutney or a jam or I can't remember what she's entering to this state fair, but she never normally wins, and you know, there's this snotty woman that always wins, and there's a bit of a rivalry going on there, and Dad's brought the prize pig, and she falls in love with this reporter there. Brother goes off with a cabaret singer that's playing at the bar. It's all very complicated, but then at the same time, it's that classic late 40s, early 50s thing where I've known you for like a week, so I'm going to run across country after you and marry you immediately, because why wouldn't you? I mean, it's a crazy storyline, but yeah, it's very good. And it's in that really warm Technicolor. I don't know if that's even a thing, but it's that kind of really clear early 50s colour where everything really pops, and it's like they've painted everything really excessively. But I kind of love that as an aesthetic, so yeah, really enjoy that. I guess it's kind of a little bit similar to like Seven Brides, Seven Brothers. That's got that same kind of colour into it, which is a film that I can generally take or leave, but the songs in it are really good, and I really like Howard Keel. I do have a bit of a rule of thumb with Howard Keel. Any film where Howard Keel has a moustache isn't very good. Any film where he doesn't, he's good. I don't know why I feel that way, I just do. But yeah, that is what it is. So yeah, any of those ones from like the 50s that aren't Singing in the Rain or aren't, you know, Calamity Jane, even though that is honestly one of my favourite musicals of all time, Calamity Jane. It's my life story in it. Yeah, I love those. I just love the way the colour pops and everything. I love Meet Me in St. Louis as well, which is the most famous for having Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. That's the first time that anyone heard that song, with Judy Garland singing that. But it's a brilliant film. the dad, Leon Ames, is brilliant. He made a living as being the dad in everything in that sort of era, and he's fantastic. But again, the power lies with the women. The women just barrel all over him and go, "We're going to do what we want. Just wind your neck in, pal." I just find that really interesting that you don't really get that in films or anything today. It's very, very weird that it's almost like a regression, where the bulk of people in films that I love from that era are women, whereas now they're very much a minority to the leading men. Intriguing. I wonder if it's anything to do with the target audience of musicals. I don't know. Maybe someone should look into it. Probably not me. I'm really busy, so probably not me. I'm going to shoot ahead quite a number of years now, and The Slipper and the Rose. I mean, it's long. I won't lie to you. It's a long, long film. When you think you've got to the end, you've got another 3/4 of an hour after that. So it's Cinderella, basically. It goes up to a point. It's exactly like you'd expect. She is orphaned with the stepmother, the ugly stepsisters. They're horrible to her. She meets the fairy godmother, who is Annette Crosby, who is honestly, she's just so sarky. She's just like, right, well, that's gone well, hasn't it? You know, she just don't give two hoots. She says at one point something about being a fairy godmother, and of course I don't look like you expect me to look like. Hans Christian Andersen would have you believe that I wear this. It's the most unsuitable outfit for a grown woman. You know, she's just like, I'm just going to wear normal clothes and do good, thank you very much. But yeah, she's fantastic in that film. She's brilliant. Gemma Craven as Cinderella. She gets to the ball, meets the prince, who is called Prince Edward in this. It doesn't really have a name in the Disney version. I like the fact that they don't really have a set name for the prince. He's just the prince. But he's Prince Edward. And she meets him. They fall in love at the ball over like one dance, so 3 minutes or so. Don't really understand that, but whatever. And then she goes back. It's got a really good scene where she's running down the stairs and her dress is changing back into rags and everything. It's really slick, in all fairness. It's really slick for 1976. And yeah, she gets home. The prince finds the slipper on the step, tries to find the slipper. He sees her out and about with the other slipper and goes, well, that's her. That's the lass. You think that's the end of the story. It's not. You think, right, jolly good. Happily ever after, on we go. No. He takes her back to the palace and his dad's like, well, you can't marry her. We need you to form an alliance. This is kind of politically highly irregular. We need you to marry a princess from a neighbouring kingdom who can give us an army. No. So they have her tell the prince that she never really loved him, that she was just a gold digger, send her off into exile and say, look, we'll give you money for life, just get out of our hair so we can marry somebody else. So he starts to marry somebody else, and then the fairy godmother rocks up Cinderella and goes, what the hell are you doing? The prince is getting married today and you're sat here on a swing just feeling sorry for yourself. Get down the church. So she whips her off to the church. Cinderella walks down the aisle and is just like, you're not marrying her, marry me instead. That's the end. But there's like 45 minutes from where you think the end should be. So if you've got a busy afternoon planned, don't put it on, because it just won't end well. You'll have to pause it and then watch it in 2 hours, so don't do that. But yeah, that's a brilliant musical. Seriously underrated. One slight issue I have with musicals nowadays is that they're too flash. And Slipper and the Rose, State Fair, Second Fiddle is not flash at all. In A Month for Sundays, there's no effects. It's just the biggest thing you get is Rudy Valley on a set that looks like a sheet of music. And I love that it's simple, and I love that those films are about the characters and the acting and the storytelling and the songs. It's not about, oh yeah, let's make Les Mis and have a huge unnecessary CGI battle and do this, that and the other. It's not about that. It's about, oh, actually Tyrone Power's really funny, let's give him some physical comedy. Or, Sonia Haney can actually do a little bit of singing and a bit of skating. Let's do that. And yeah, I just like that they're driven much more by people rather than flashy effects and this and that. So if you're at a loose end, bob a DVD of those in. Oh my god, how could I forget this? It's not, I don't know if you strictly call it a musical, 'cause it does have some musical numbers, but they are very much set pieces. Tom Thumb. Tom Thumb's a belter. So, I don't know why I nearly forgot this. This is fantastic. Tom Thumb, story Tom Thumb, exactly what you'd expect. Woodcutter cutting down a tree. Fairy of the Woods, or whatever she's called, says, spare my favourite tree, I'll give you 3 wishes. So he's like, fair dues. Him and his wife have never had kids, really would love kids. I mean, they're knocking on in this version, they must be 60, so there's no chance in hell that they're going to have kids on their own now. And he's like, yeah, I'll take the wishes home to the wife. And they have a row, and she ends up putting the sausages on the end of her nose. Oh dear, that's tragic, what can we do? We really wanted a child. Da-da-da. Middle of the night, there's a knock on the door. They open the door, they can't see anybody. Look down, it's Tom Thumb, who is absolutely tiny. I mean, in versions where I've seen of like Tom Thumb, he is little. He must be like year big. Like, they have him drink out of a thimble and all this palaver. And then there's a really good dance number where he's dancing with all his toys. But anyhow, he goes and he meets the woodcutter, who is in love with the Fairy of the Woods, and she's in love with him, but she's immortal, he's mortal. Oh dear, what do we do? It's Alan Young, who is brilliant. And if you don't know his name, you'll know his voice, because he's Scrooge McDuck. Like, Scrooge McDuck is in a musical playing a woodcutter. What's not to love about that? Even just as a sentence, that sounds incredible. So, he takes him to like this fete in the village square, and there's a man who makes talented shoes, because that's their song and dance number, talented shoes, where they can dance on their own, and people are buying the shoes, and suddenly they're bursting into dance, and everyone's dancing around the square. And Tom's really upset because he's really tiny and he can't wear these talented shoes. So the talented shoe man takes some weird little clogs that he randomly has on like a keyring or something, never fully explained where they are, and he gives Tom them, and Tom's dancing away in these clogs, and he gets lost amongst the crowd, and the woodcutter, who's supposed to be in the band's going, oh no, bandmaster, stop. And the bandmaster's going, what, I can't hear you, you want me to play faster? So they all play faster, and everyone's running like buggery. And somehow or other Tom ends up in the company of 2 thieves, who are played absolutely like perfectly by Terry Thomas and Peter Sellers. Whoever thought of putting them 2 together, like, if I had a hat, I'd take it off to you, it's fantastic. And they con him into getting a lot of money out of the treasury, because they say it's their money and it's been stolen and blah de blah. And the woodcutter has to come and rescue him, and in the end the woodcutter kisses the wood fairy, or whatever you want to call her, and it turns out that she can become mortal to stay with him. It sounds convoluted, but it's brilliant, and Terry Thomas and Peter Sellers are hilarious in it. They make me laugh my head off, and there's just a load of like slightly awful but brilliant lines, like the bandmaster, play faster, and it just makes me laugh. And I love the fact that even though there are some effects like the dancing toys, it's very much that they are there to show off how brilliant a dancer Russ Tamblyn is, because he's phenomenal. He really is phenomenal. And I enjoy the fact that the director and the filmmakers weren't about showing all the CGI, or well, there wasn't CGI at the time, but you know what I mean, all the animation. They were about showing off their star, because it's very much a vehicle for him. And I think that's really, really cool, and I think that's what we should have more of in musical films nowadays. And I think that's what's lacking in some of the films that I don't really like. It is about pandering to the audience, or throwing in some effects to make it bigger or better, even though it's not. And I think we should just go back to some of these older films like The Slipper and the Rose and Tom Thumb, where you've got people just singing and just dancing and just showing off the skills that they have. You'd never in a month of Sundays get a film now where you had an ex-Olympian getting like a 4-minute ice skating number to show off what she does, because you can have Rudy Valley sing over it, and then she can do the dancing and show off her talents. And I think you should. We should have more of that. Torval and Dean the musical, here we come.